Good afternoon, everyone. Happy to be here again for another launch hour. I'm sure this is going to be another exciting time for all of you who have been making it a date with us here every Thursday. For those of you who have seen the ads running this program, I believe you're pretty much familiar with what we're trying to do today. My name is Paul Erubami. I'm your facilitator. I'm the head of faculty and managing director at Max-Migold Limited. And I'm excited that I can come to you every Thursday, 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. for knowledge sharing sessions like this. And the usual thing for me to do when I start to pick the class is to basically just remind you of what we have going for us at Max-Migold. We have the batch 25 of the FM Mastercraft diploma program running till the November, I think. Yeah, November. It's currently running. So admission has ceased. We've closed admission on that, and we are recruiting for the January 12th start date. So what's the news about that today? We have an installment program that started in September. You can pay monthly from September 2025 to February 2026, 6 months installment. You can start now if you've not started in September and pay your installments. And once you are able to complete your payment for the January 12th class starts by the end of October 2025, you get a whopping 200,000 naira off. So if you paid weekly, for example, for the month of October, you will pay less by 200,000. And if you do that spread into November, you would have a 150,000 naira off. If you get into December, you would have a 10% discount. So we're offering mouth-watering discounts throughout the rest of the year. And we allow payments of the full amount. If you couldn't make up all these payments in October, November, and December, and you get into January, it means that you're paying the full amount, and your spread can extend up to 1 month into the class. So whatever installments you are owing must be paid up by the first month, into the class. So that's the bonanza that we're running right now. So please tell your friends and family and those who really want to pick up a career and move something up, in their lives and careers to please move in. So in terms of the total package, the full payment is 950,000 for the physical class, which means you can attend Monday, Wednesday, Friday virtual classes, and Saturday 10 to 4. Monday, Wednesday, Friday is 5 to 7 p.m. And then you now engage face-to-face with the facilitators on Saturdays. So even if you cannot attend the virtual class and you attend the physical class, you'll be good. For those who pay for this virtual class, it's 750,000. These two tuition are irrespective or independent of the registration fee of 25,000. But we have something that we always do for teams, organizations that bring in their teams. We go as far as 50%, for teams of up to 10. So that's a huge discount that we offer. So if we have 5-6 organizations bringing teams of between 5 and 10 or more, we can always discuss mouth-watering rebates, because the whole idea of doing this is to ensure that we can get as is still rising. As a recruiter, I can still tell you for free that we are finding it difficult to fill all the positions that are coming to us to fill. The opportunities are rising. Companies are becoming more and more aware of facility management profession and the value that they bring to the organization. And that's why one of the focus for us, even beyond the FM diploma, is to ensure that on a weekly basis, we bring you very strong positioning topics that once you engage with them, practice them in your organization, it elevates you very quickly to strategic levels, to the C-suite, to someone that can be relied upon for extreme strategic value to the organization. We facility managers are strategic enablers. And so our goal here is to ensure that you as the individual, whether you have taken the FM diploma or you have not taken the FM diploma, but you have an inkling, an interest in developing yourself and building a career, in growing professionally, we'll make sure that the topics we cover here will always be relevant, and add to your elevation in the business environment. And today's topic is one topic that is so in high demand. In fact, companies pay consultants a lot of money to put together this information and navigate them through this process of regulatory compliance, which we bring to you simplified, straight, with all the information you need to implement them in your project. One project where you come in with this kind of value to your organization would change the narrative for you in that organization once and for all. Okay, so here is my slides. I'm getting right into it because it's a lot we have to cover. I hope you see my slides. Everything is clear from your end.
Yes, we can see it. I
Awesome.
can see it.
Awesome. I think everyone else can as well. Awesome. This is good. Okay, so where is my video? At least you see my video as well, right? Even if I'm not seeing it, I know I look sharp, don't I?
You do, sir, always.
Thank you. Okay. All right. So the objective of today is to understand the key stages of construction compliance from design to occupancy. In fact, from planning through design, construction, facility management, and then occupancy, and then all the way to obsolescence. Sometimes people think about facility management and say, oh, we are doing operations and maintenance. We don't just do operations and maintenance. We guide the entire process from how the initial idea to build started from. It is from a need, an opportunity, a problem that we, the custodians of the built environment, needed solved or implemented, that a project is born. And then throughout the entire process of delivering that project, there's just one goal: to ensure that the sponsoring organization and the occupants get their desired output. And facility managers are the custodians. We are the ones managing. The end users and managing the entire deliverable. So when the teams that are planning, designing, constructing are doing all of that, and they're going to hand over to us to manage all compliance related to what they should be complying with, needs to be complied with perfectly. Otherwise, they will dump on us a non-compliant asset. We can't manage non-compliant assets, and we can't wait until we do those audits, condition assessments, and throw up all kinds of non-compliance and start reverse engineering the process of try to fix all that we can fix. Why don't we proactively make up value propositions, business cases to get involved so that we can be embedded? We may not be doing construction and design full time, but design does not move to construction until we have given a clearance. Construction does not move from stage to stage until we have said, yes, It's what was agreed, what was designed that was built. Or if they were approved changes, it's been properly documented with reasons. And then we have all of that information, because at the end stage, they can't just hand you keys or show you a building or cut a ribbon and say you received the building. The proper thing to be done is that a set of documents need to be handed over to you. In other sessions of this program, we will talk about the operations and maintenance manual and all of those asset documentation that will come out of the entire construction process that should be handed over to you. In today's conversation, however, we are concerned with the statutory compliance regulations. So that's why, as an FM, working in the built environment, facility manager, property manager, real estate manager, project manager, procurement manager, internal services, corporate services, whatever your role is, you need to understand the key stages of construction compliance from design to occupancy. And then your role as custodian of the built environment is embedded into everything you're going to be receiving. So you cannot be oblivious of those compliance. And so when we say FM should be involved from the onset, sometimes the question is, does the FM know what it should be doing when it's involved, right? So part of what we're going to cover today is showing you as an FM what value you can bring, because not all investors or owners or company MDs understand this. And so they probably don't see how you can add value. You just look like one extra seat, somebody warming the chair, asking foolish questions in some cases, not adding any value, just eating the meeting meals and all that. And so, no, you have to come to that meeting fully equipped with an understanding of, what the compliance requirements are. So ahead of today's session, what I've done is I've kind of mapped out a summary outline in a regulatory compliance tracking sheet, which I shared on the groups yesterday. So if you are on the Max-Migold training, facility management training group on WhatsApp, or you are on the FM alumni, please pick up that spreadsheet. It is invaluable. I mean, this is thousands of naira of, hundreds of thousands of naira of work if you have to get a consultant to do that, which I've provided for you. If you are not in any of those platforms, I'll enjoin the Max-Migold team to please put the links to the platforms, on the chat here. I know some of us are on LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, who probably rather remain anonymous or not want to be on the WhatsApp platform. What I will also do is share an online cloud drive link to the file with the team, and then that can now be shared with you in those platforms. So come back after the session and look for the link to that document, and I'm sure it's going to be helpful to you in navigating the regulatory compliance regime for our construction and delivery process. Common compliance gaps and how to mitigate such associated risk. Collaborate effectively with contractors, regulators, and project teams, and ensure smooth project handover, documentation, and operational readiness. So one thing I've now added is I have now done a kind of a collation. So for the last 3 or 4 years, with my master's in facility management students at the University of Lagos, UNILAG, we've had this assignment where students, dig into all the agencies, pull out their key regulations as an assignment, and it's been going for a few years now, and it's been yielding a lot of information. Even some agencies that you didn't think existed, have been dug up. The reason is we need to be familiar with the real-time ground conditions of regulatory requirements, because ignorance is not an excuse. Nobody will say, oh, well, this agency, I'm just doing it for the first time, therefore I did not comply. It doesn't apply. It doesn't work that way, right? So you cannot feign ignorance on things like this. You need to really have a way to know who um, that has a tracking sheet that you can actually use as your regulatory track sheet, where you can put, oh, I have this permit, this is when it's expiring, I don't have this is what I'm doing about it, and so on and so forth. So you can use it as a tracker, just put you in informed of what you should be doing. So that's a working tool. At least from this session, you have that, and then you have the information you need. So I already said facility management is the custodian. We are the custodian of the built environment. So we cannot wait to receive garbage. That era of being on the sideline or being invited at the end to start auditing, no, that's quality control. And in many cases, after the mess had been made, which we don't want, we want quality assurance. Quality assurance looks at the process from start to finish, works at every stage to ensure there is compliance to both quality and regulatory compliance. Okay. So FM is no longer limited to maintaining buildings, but now shaping organizational strategy. The role is evolving from reactive problem solving to proactive business planning. We are becoming key partners in driving efficiency, sustainability, and workplace experience. Strategic facility management links operational outcomes directly to business objectives. And so the modern FM's role requires both technical expertise and leadership influence. This comes out very strongly in all of my presentations, both in this series that I've been running for a couple of years now, and also in the FM diploma that is, very comprehensive. So what do you contribute? What value do you contribute at the different stages, right? During planning, you provide input on design functionality, compliance requirements, and future maintenance needs. So this is where, as an FM, you are the one that know exactly what the users needs. You also are supposed to be the one that is, because you engage with workers, contractors, vendors, and people that work in your site on a regular basis, you also know the operational requirements. Because you've experienced facilities, equipment breakdown, there's what we call the degradation curve, where a brand new equipment from installation, as it's been operated and maintained over the years, goes through a process of dwindling quality or productivity or performance over time. That pattern, you're pretty much familiar with it. You can tell, how facilities, both civil, electrical, mechanical facilities, will typically wear and tear over time. And then you can also provide information on how maintainability and operational readiness can be built into it. For example, certain things can be designed that will not give access. So accessibility for maintenance is key. Repairs, parts, availability. There are so many considerations that designers really wouldn't be looking into, because they just feel like they can find it in the market today, they will build it and then they will deliver it and they're gone, right? But if you are the one to manage it, you can tell that certain things that are being brought in will not be maintainable because to be a problem. Whether you not have the right skills to maintain it, you will not have the right technology support to maintain it, it will become obsolete in a very short time. Whatever it is, you need to be able to express information from your experience. And to express valid information from your experience, you must have been taking notes as you manage facilities over time. During the execution stage, you monitor strong quality, safety adherence, and documentation accuracy. So much emphasis here is on documentation accuracy. All variations must be well documented. The reason for the variation, what was supposed to be and what changed, what it has built now this is one area where we are completely blindsided if we're not there. The guys who are building it really don't think there's a need to put somebody on ground to be doing drafting changes, except the client pays for it. And when the client does pay for it, if you are not watching carefully, if you are not there to ensure that drafting changes is happening, they will end up relabeling a design drawing that's a drawing of intent as built, what they actually built, where there'll be a huge variation or difference between those two documentation. And then coordination among contractors, consultants, regulatory authorities to meet compliance standards. This is where we are really talking about now. So much compliance is overlooked during construction. I tell you something. If a contractor, project manager, or anybody on project, if they can get away with anything, they'll get away with it. They don't really care. They don't really care. It might come to haunt you later because regulations and certifications and all those inspections that go before it are not just to burden the construction, it's to ensure that there are certain protections in place for your end users and the if you overlook them, you might be saving time now, you might be saving some money, you might be thinking you're creating some convenience for yourself by building at night, shadowing everybody and getting things you run to the top, but you're actually creating a problem for the future of that asset. So we should think more about the asset value, the occupant satisfaction, the results that the organization is getting from the investments. And then during operation, of course, that transition between operation is a very key, important moment. I've talked about documentation. Apart from documentation of operations and maintenance manual, asset data, and other compliance documentation I've been talking about, there is also the need to carefully manage the commissioning, the testing, commissioning, and handover process. Very key. And FM cannot be out of the scene while commissioning, testing, and handover is being done, because they're supposed to be carefully curated documentation of these three processes that becomes part of the life cycle management of that asset. Everything that comes from construction will become part of your reference material throughout operations and maintenance. You will make less mistakes. You will spend less on parts and spares and investment in different inputs. You will reduce disruptions to clients and organizations and users of the facilities. You will have a seamless transition into operations and maintenance if these things come to you, in the format that you can use them. And then when you take over, continuous monitoring and maintenance ensure long-term performance, safety, and regulatory compliance across board. So as strategic enablers of the business, we are no longer going to wait for problems and then run to fix. We're shifting away to become a proactive solutions provider, effective at managing risk, implementing sustainability, supporting finance, procurement, and HR policies, just about anything that uplifts the organization. That's where we sit now. So our fiscal assets is one key resource of the organization. And so we must secure it and ensure that there's no harm to the organization reputation and then the people that work in there. So key permits, building permits, you first have to confirm that the land is properly owned before construction can start. So we'll talk about those. Zoning approval. Not all types of buildings can be built in any land. There are types of buildings that can be built in certain zones, right? So land use and planning laws are very key. And then fire safety clearances during construction and during operations and maintenance. There are all kinds of permits for environmental permits, waste management, refuse, effluents, that's sewage and so on. And then you ensure that these permits are attempted or are approached proactively early in the process. So that's why if your organization, let's say you work for a bank or hospital that's in expansion mode and or in a retail shopping business that they are continuously into new construction, over time you should have built relationship with certain key officials in this agency. It's very important that you have that contact base of people that you can discuss your next project with on a regular basis. Ensure all documentation, drawings, permits are accurate and submission ready. They will ask for things, including insurance covers, for insurance documentation. They will ask for, they will come for inspection, make sure they are able to see what they need to see, document what they need to document, and please be cooperative. I know how some of these agencies will come to your site, they will find 20 things that needs to be fixed, and they'll say, oh, give us a little bit of money to overlook this and that and certify for you. Do not go that path. You are not doing anybody any good. That corrupt approach is only going to haunt you. If anything happens tomorrow, and this is something that most people don't often take for granted. It's not in every case that incidents happen that lead to investigation that unearths unethical practices that you have been part of in the past, which will ruin your professional career and standing, and also expose your organization to certain reputational damage. But even when it doesn't lead to such incidents, you are going to meet those costs with operations and maintenance, with occupants' dissatisfaction, with disruptions in operations, and so on and so forth. So you need to have that approach, thoroughly dealing with issues. And there's always this complicity that we come across where the owner wants it delivered quickly. There's a timeline, there's a budget that must not be crossed. So they are basically bullying their way through getting it ready. So you shouldn't be one who comes in at the end. So that's where proactive engagement, setting up a clear compliance timeline aligned with project milestones and approval stages comes in. You make sure your compliance, matter are embedded. It's not at the end, okay? And then ensure that you have whatever permit you receive is tracked, is properly stored for reference purposes. And you track the dates, their validity. There are some permits that are so temporary, like 3 months, some last for a year, and some are once and for all, right? So you put all of those in your retrieval system where you can always access them. Now, the national building codes and the model building codes, developed by states through agencies that are formulated or created over time. They both contain regulations and information instructions that guides everybody from planners to designers to construction teams down to operations and maintenance, right? The FM should not just be concerned about the regulation that governs the operations and maintenance side. You should be conversant with the regulations that govern all the other things, because as custodian, you need to be well-versed. You need to be able to contribute value to that process of compliance to this building code. Okay, and then we often have this issue where professionals in the built environment, architects, quantity surveyors, engineers, builders, they tend to see facility managers as interlopers, nosing into what's not your business. As an industry, we are working on that. We are trying to integrate them, train them, show, give them more enlightenment. So even our sessions, you invite your friends who are in all of these professions. After all, most of us were, grow up in these disciplines and then move to facility management. So we should not, be on that we versus them approach to delivering on projects. We should make them aware that our involvement is not a threat to them. It's going to make them better. In fact, one of the engagements we had recently at Marriott Ikeja with industry, it turned out that an architect, I think, state president of architecture in Nigeria, NIA, recounted an experience where he had an FM, as part of his team in a design competition, which they won because they were able to incorporate very, germane, important, relevant, operational readiness, sustainability, maintainability items contributed by this facility management consultant they embedded into their team They won the competition, and it was one of their best projects yet. And so that tells you that once you are able to collaborate in a valuable exchange approach where mutually you're supporting them, they're supporting you, they actually come out better because they get a sense of elevation. There are so many things you open their eyes to that will be surprising. So talking with them, engaging with them early, not as an outsider, as part of the team trying to deliver something that is worthwhile, is very important. And compliance, by no means, it's supposed to be at that level as early as possible. And then, of course, contractors come on the scene. They want to deliver as quickly as possible and get out of there at the cheapest possible cost. You are not going to be an impediment to contractors. You're not going to be one slowing them down. No, you are not, right? Right from the planning of the kickoff meeting, the review of what needs to be done, looking at the work and structure, looking at the your questions are mostly around environment, where will heaps of sand be placed, how would the road be kept traffic free, running without obstruction, where will the runoff water from storm and from site production be managed, how will refuse and construction demolition debris be managed, how will dust be controlled, you don't want to have a bad rap with your neighbors. How will effluents and emissions from generators and other plants that will be used on the site be contained, right? You are doing all that. One, for high quality deliverable, but also for compliance, because there are so many agencies that will come one by one. Now, but you see, this is where our problem is. We tend to wait for the agencies to come. By the time they come, you have done some things that leads to penalties, because they're going to ask, did you get authorization? Did you get permit? Did you get license for this and that and that and that? Then penalties follow. You want to avoid that, because once they come and that's when you start trying to comply, they see you as a rule breaker, and they become suspicious, and that becomes the basis of the relationship going forward. But if you have contacted them well in advance, and while you are working with contractors for kickoff, mobilizing teams and equipment to site, they are always being mobilized to come, transport them down, do inspections jointly with them, exchange ideas. You'll see how they become partners to your project, and nothing will become an impediment in your execution. So everything, from air, water, refuse, effluents, are all part of what you manage during the process. Now, so I was talking about that critical moment where you are trying to transition, where they will do testing and commissioning. There are two different things. Testing is for functionality. Basically says that the air conditioner, blows cool air. It works at 220 volts as designed. It's not noisy beyond a certain decibel as indicated. Those are tests, because there's a functionality, there is a range of acceptable range, a unit of measure, acceptable range, and an interpretation of the reading based on equipment check, a metering or testing equipment check. That's what testing is. But commissioning is very different. Commissioning is not the same thing. While testing documents functionality, commissioning documents adequacy, right? So that same AC, breathing cool air, all the operating parameters are within range, can pass testing. But if that AC, while having passed testing, cannot keep the people and the activities in that space cool and comfortable, then that AC will fail commissioning. So I will not be taking, is it bringing cool air? Is it working at so and so electrical parameters and so on? No, for the air conditioner. No, that's not what I'm doing. I'm checking on the users. Are you feeling comfortable, right? And so on and so forth. Those are the kind of questions that I do for commission. Commissioning is focused on outputs. Testing is focused on inputs, right? Inputs can be right, but when it is now being checked for adequacy, it can fail. It does the same way you have a generator, works fine, everything is okay. But when the generator is trying to power the house, it shuts down because the load is too much. So that same generator has passed testing, but I just failed commissioning because once peak load goes on it, it shuts down. That means that generator is inadequate for that property. So having documentation for these two sets of information is very key. It's going to help you in your ongoing operations and maintenance. And then you get into the occupancy stage where you now need to take over. For most of us, we are just okay with the building has been delivered. We've done a walkthrough. Everything seems to be working fine. We move in and start using it. Do you know that by law, you can't move into your own building without receiving a certificate from the government? By law. This is everywhere in the world, including Lagos and Nigeria. You can't. You can't just move in and start using it. We probably just get this wrong sometimes and think, oh, well, it's my building, I'm done with it, I can move into it. Now, for certain types of class of buildings, small buildings, single dwelling residential, you may not get so much regulation that requires that. But for public buildings and large developments, you definitely need certification before you can move in. And I'll talk about some of this in a bit. But in terms of the building itself, you need to have all drawings, operations manuals, asset documentation, certifications, and inspection reports from all those agencies. And then you ensure that whoever worked on the project actually was licensed to work on the project. That includes your consultants and your contractors. Okay, so a little bit of some tips on how to deal with agencies. Don't wait till the end. Call them on time, schedule inspections, submit reports, confirm written confirmation from each agency to officially close out on your obligations. I always like to do that. And not many clients like the fact that I'm so pro compliance. So again, I have to manage that for my clients. I have to find a way to communicate the value of compliance to my client, because if I don't, it might seem me as just being a stumbling block to his project, which I don't want to be. Okay. And so everything that has to do with training of the teams that are going to use it, including training of the end users. In the all my career, I think I've had only about four or five projects where the client actually felt the need, listen to us to say, please, let's assemble our users together and train them on the features built in here, how to conduct, how to respond to emergencies, the use of basic functionality like toilets and the rest. It was fun. We spent 2 days training 350 people, for example, in the NCDMB towers in Bielsa, on how to use their building, because as facility managers, we want to maintain the building, but you soon move in and all kinds of issues come from different approaches to use. Things start breaking down because people don't know how to use them. And you blame them. Oh, these are bush people. It's you that's bush because you didn't train them on what to expect and how to use the facility. There are some doors that have a push button, and somebody doesn't know there's a push button, starts dragging the door, and then breaks the door and say, "Oh, the guy broke the door." Well, it's the facility manager that failed. There's supposed to be a training to ensure that he understands how that door works. So that's what we're talking about. So all of these include you dovetail your initial handover documentation, your initial facility commission assessments and audits, and then you convert that into your continuous, what we call the deferred maintenance log. So there's continuous audits and inspections that helps you to keep the building running and documented. So you don't have, this is what was delivered to me. And then after a year or two, you do an audit and see a massive gap, and you don't have a transition. You don't have the regular or interval where you did inspections to document all systems functionality and performance all through the process. So it has to be continuous. And then, maintain accurate and up-to-date records of inspections, permits, and certifications for audit readiness. Implement centralized digital systems to store and manage compliance documentation. Very important. Monitor key compliance indicators regularly to detect and address potential risk early. Establish clear reporting lines and responsibilities for ongoing regulatory adherence, and conduct periodic reviews to ensure records reflect current standards and operational realities. So let's look at some of the agencies. I'm sure that's where some of your mind is going. What are the agencies? So let's start with ownership, certificate of occupancy, governor's consent, or registered survey plan. Before you build anywhere, there has to be power to build, which comes from ownership. And then land use and zoning approval. This comes from the Lagos State Fiscal Planning Permit Authority, LASPA. Of course, we know where we get the documentation for title from, Ministry of Lands in most states in Nigeria, because all land by 1979 Land Use Act is vested on the government. So that ministry coordinates that process. And then LASPA also ensures that you are in compliance with building codes and local regulations before construction begins. So site services, drainage, road access, all of those things are confirmed. And then for large projects, you have the environmental ministries, whether it's the federal or the states, and then once your building plan starts being developed, ensure that there's a continuous referencing of the Nigerian Building Code, which you can download online for free, and ensure that the provisions of the code are complied with during the design planning, because that is what the planning authorities are going to refer to say, this is acceptable, this is not acceptable. They can't create new laws. They can't use anything else to approve or not approve. So don't say they didn't approve, let's go and give them money so that they can approve. No, you must comply first. If you comply first, you will not pay anything to beyond the statutory fees to get approval, okay? And then, of course, for every project, it means for water, utilities, sewage, and all that, ensure that those connections are handled professionally. During construction, even after you have gotten the LASPA approval, so your building plan is approved, you also now need environmental certification. And this has to be inspected and issued on a continuous basis. Health and Safety Commission, that's the Lagos State Safety Commission, they come for regular construction inspections. And then you have the organization called the Lagos State Building Control Agency, LABSCA. They are the ones that actually need to certify stage by stage for project development. You can't just run a mall from foundation to roof without them certifying that everything is in order. And then you also have the material testing agency that ensures that the right quality of materials are being used in the project. Once the project is done, you now have to deal with the certificate of completion from LABSCA, the certificate of fitness for habitation, Lagos State Safety Commission, fire safety, there's federal and state fire agencies, and then you have the environmental and facility audits. The environmental audits, they look at your sewage collection and disposal, your solid waste management process, your stormwater runoff, your other derivatives for operations and maintenance, like when you change your oil from your diesel generator, where does it go to, and so all that. And then your elevators, if you have lifts for high-rise buildings, you can't just install a lift and start using it. You can have all the certifications and you still need to have your elevator certified. Same goes for your sewage plants. So many estates are pumping right into drainages, unprocessed sewage. And the excuse they gave is that, well, we have a holding tank, water level table is very high, so the stormwater, environmental water that mixes up with our brown waste, and so we have to find a way to pump it out. You can't pump it out in the raw state. You have to process it. Because rainwater can go into drainage does not mean that any gray water or brown water or waste from the facility can go into the drainage as well. Okay, so that's very important. Now, you have moved in, you're now using the facility, and you now feel there's a need to change something, to remodel, to do some renovations. You need approvals as well. And this is where FMs often, we fight this. Why should we go and get approval to renovate? It's important. And then every time you make any of those changes, you need to get fire and safety approvals, inspections and completion certificate from LabSky again. And then there is usually a need to have a structural test done every time you make a change or a revision in your facility, so that you are not adding loads unnecessarily that you are not, conscious of to the foundation and structure of the building. You need to do that test again before you obtain all the permits to occupy and continue using. Okay. Okay, so for those of us in Lagos, we often have this issue with, there's this federal agency in charge of that, and there's this state agency in charge of that. I usually don't give advice on which one to get your permit from, but if you ask me, I would defer to the states, the one that, it's more pervasive, more around me. Right? So if you have that concern between a federal agency doing the same thing as a state level agency, I would say, from my personal advice, go with the state agency. They're the ones that are closer, and they're the ones that can give you, better cover in terms of awareness of the local environment. Okay. So engaging with them early, they have portals. Some of them have email addresses, contact numbers. Just reach out to them and ensure that you are on top of your compliance. So again, I want to refer you to the spreadsheet I shared that documents some of these agencies and puts a tracking sheet and things you should know about working with the agencies. Okay, so that's how I will end the presentation for today. I want to have some questions, so I'm going to make some time available for questions in this session. We have about 12 minutes. I think that should be good. So if you have a question, just raise your hand in the Zoom app and I'll acknowledge you to speak. If you type your question in the chat here, I will see it and I'll read it out and respond. If you have your question or comments in any of the other platforms, I would like to also entertain them as well. Yes, Barry, please go ahead.
Good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for the training, or should I say lunch hour. This is very insightful and required for all facility managers. So my question is very simple, and it speaks to relating soft services for FM.
Yeah.
As a facility manager, you have this knowledge, or you are conversant with all this, and the organization also has a project manager.
Yeah.
And the project manager is not, for lack of better word, does not pay attention to detail like you. And the project manager also has the ears of the C-suites of the organization, because most organizations will always place the project manager higher than the facility manager.
Yeah.
So how do you share your experience, while not also making the project manager look like a bad person, because some people don't know how to be team players.
Yeah, I
So
understand. That's a very good one. So that's where politics come in, right? There are two things that you can do politically that will bring value to you and the organization. One is work on a value proposition, giving as many business case reasons for you as the facility manager, the ultimate custodian of the property, the one with knowledge of facility needs and organization strategy to be on the project team. So I'm coming to the project team as a consultant to the project team, as a supporter of the project team, as a not to drag position, not to interfere, but to help the process of delivering the project to meet its objectives. Now, the second thing is be a good friend of the project manager. Unofficially develop things like what I just gave you, right? And share it with him and say, what do you think? The tracking templates. Come up with strategic documentation, certain analysis, operations and maintenance manual line items. Just come up with things that you say, this is what I'm looking at. This is how it helps us work together and how it helps us deliver good value. What do you think? If he says, well, we have this, we have that, okay, fine. You create a conversation early, well in advance, where you are into him things that will help him thrive, succeed, excel. You are not bringing it as if they are your ideas, because at the end of the day, the project will become your baby. And if there is a rift between you and project manager, they will do whatever they deliver and get away with it. So you don't want that outcome. You humbly become friends and contribute ideas to them. Let them own the ideas once you've done that. Okay.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome. Okay, let me take Adiola. Go ahead with your question or comments.
Okay, good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Oh, thank you for the insightful training as regards regulatory compliance. Okay, actually, of recent, I work in the health sector. So
Good.
of recent, I've been getting a lot of notice of abatement for three of our centers,
Very
stating
good.
that fumigation is to be handled by the local government, that is the environmental department.
Mm-hmm.
And well, my 3 years as a hair firm, I've been dealing with, okay, let's go through the local government, but the one they did has not been effective at all. You can imagine you fumigating and you get to work on Monday, not even a single cockroach is seen in the facility. We've tried to make a complaint, but they are saying that is what they can do. I requested for the chemicals used, said it's stated on their certificates. I want to ask, can we still go ahead to deal with the private sector, because the private sector one is not even being effective for us despite paying to them?
There is no law that says you should receive service from public sector, or their role is regulatory. They don't do fumigation for you. That is actually a scam. They provide certain certifications to fumigation companies. So before you engage any fumigation company, let them show you their license from the environmental agency responsible for licensing fumigation companies. Once you have that, ensure that once they fumigated, they give you a certificate of pest control for your facility. Attach a copy of their own license to the certificate you have received. Whenever these regulators come to you, you show it to them, you are cleared at once. You don't get government to come and fumigate for you. The same thing with fire extinguishers. I hear a lot of them coming to say, well, they want to service as fire extinguishers. It's not law that they should be doing that. In fact, they are taking the businesses of private businesses. That's not their business.
Okay, sir. So, sorry to drag in. In this case, we got the person that does fumigation for pest control for us. I got his license from La Cepa.
Okay.
He has, in fact, I have his license from the past 3 years, his annual license. But they
Yeah.
said that is the state's license, that the person needs to come to the local government. In fact, I had the same at Etiosa, I had at Igodo, Ikotu local governments. I had to deal with so many local governments in the last 3 to 6 months as
Yeah. Yeah.
regards this.
Yeah.
Even for the fire service also, they said
Mhm.
the federal has no right to do servicing for us. It has to be done by the states.
Yes.
So now we deal with the state's person, but it's a private practice.
Yes.
But for the fumigation, they are still insisting that the La Cepa license cannot fly for local governments.
So that's okay. So when it comes to these concerns, I would always encourage FMs to work with the lowest tier of government closest to you, right? The reason is that they are closest to you, they can give you cover, they are more conversant with the environment. And if there is a conflict of laws between a lower government and a higher government, when it comes to fiscal environment, starts with the lowest. If you've complied with the lower government requirements and the higher level government comes, you just show your documentation, you'll be fine.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Okay, so that's all for questions and comments today. I want to thank you all for taking the time to be here. Look forward to another interesting topic next week, Thursday. And make this a permanent feature of your calendar. Just book it there. Lunch hour will hold every Thursday by 1 p.m. and we'll be here to give you something interesting and productive for you. Until next week, have the rest of the week, have the best of the rest of the week, and have a good weekend following the work week. I look forward to having as many people as possible take advantage of the bonanzas we have for the FM Masterclass Diploma. And please, for everything I teach about, I'm a consultant for all of them. So if you need help, from environmental issues, for technology issues, for energy efficiency issues, for workers' productivity, anything, I consult for companies and I train. Just reach out to me. Go to Max-Migold.com. Take my number down, 080-220-20122, so that you can always be able to reach out, 080-220-20122. Always have that number in your phone so you can chat me on WhatsApp anytime a question pops up in your mind. I'm a mentor to so many and I answer questions within 24 hours. Okay, so let's stay in touch. Invite me for inspections. I'll see what you are doing. I advise for free. And if there's an opportunity for me to present a consulting proposal, I'll let you know. And if it goes well, we'll be in business together. Always available. Thank you and have a good day. Bye.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye. There are some questions just coming in, sir, which was just
Sir,
on the chat.
I will chat you privately, sir.
Okay, good. Please chat me up privately.
This too.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Tio. I'll see your chat. Okay. Can you please give a clear standard STP illustration of a facility? Sewage treatment plants. Nah, I can't do that in a few minutes. That's a whole topic for the FM Masterclass Diploma. Okay. Yes. That's a very big topic. All right. So please join the FM Diploma. It will make a lot of difference to you. Have a good afternoon. Bye, everyone.
Bye.